Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Madden Game Man. Guys, today we got finally some more college football news. Let's go, baby. NCAA. Oh my god, I'm so excited for this one. We got NCAA football 24. Latest news, the unexpected happened. What happened? Please tell me this is a good thing. Please tell me this is a good thing. No bad news. Come on now. We don't have no bad news on my channel. Don't do it today. Come on now. I just saw this. Please be good as please. Man, I cannot wait to react to this. But before I hop into this reaction, I need you guys to like this video if you want more reactions just like this one. Without further ado, jump right into it.
About the upcoming NCAA college football video game. There's been some new developments as of late that aren't very good, but there is still a lot of hope for the game. I'm going to break down everything you need to know about what we've just found out.
Don't say that.
I'm also going to have some exclusive Madden 24 news coming in a couple of days, so if you don't want to miss out on that, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon.
Hey, I told you this is the year of football. This is the year right here for football games right here.
Make sure you're subscribed here, follow on the socials. I'm going to be giving more codes away throughout the rest of the week. So let's get into this NCAA football video game news. It's definitely not the best news, but I don't think it's as concerning as other people seem to think it is. Now, about a week ago, we got some news that the College Football Players Association was organizing a boycott of the 2024 EA Sports video game due to the amount of money they were going to be making for being in the game. And then today we even got some more news about this and some lawsuits.
Are you
that EA is
serious,
facing
bro?
Over this potentially. So there's a lot to cover. So we're gonna start with this article here on 13.com, and basically what's happening here is the association that's over all of the college players is seeking more money for their name, image, and likeness to be in the upcoming college game.
Goodness, come on now.
Budget on how much they're willing to pay players, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be budging on that. So let's dive into it. It says here, the NCAA installing its interim NIL policy in 2021 was viewed by many as a victory. For the first time in college sports history, athletes were turning a profit. Last month, EA Sports announced that players would be paid for their NIL to be used in the college football video game, which is slated to return in 2024. EA has contracted one-team partners to facilitate college athletes' likeness. A source told 1-3 the cash pool for athletes was in the $5 million neighborhood, which would pay out to $500 per player. Sport Rico has also reported that there are no royalties.
YouTube is the #1 site for millions of creators online, but as more people flood to the platform,
Now, the vice president of the College Football Players Association does not think this is enough money, and he said all current players should boycott this deal. It's an opt-in deal, and they should not opt into it. It's just a ridiculously low amount of money given the context and the hype that surrounds this game. When we first heard the number, we were like, all right, that sounds low. Let's go figure out if it is low. And started talking to guys. Talked to some of my friends, some guys who are still playing in the NFL. So what are the NFL players getting paid for Madden? And the numbers we were given were from 2019. It was disclosed that they got, I think, about $17,000. And then a current NFL player told us that he got a check for $28,000 this year for Madden. So currently, as it stands, the leaders of the Players Association are under the belief that if they can kind of keep an organized effort going, they can create change. Neither of them disclosed what an ideal number would be, though. When the Ed O'Bannon case was settled in 2016, about 29,000 players who
I remember this one.
Basketball video games were paid out an average of $1,200. It says here, we really think this can be a unifying effort because it's such a clear target and clearly a bad deal. For the top athletes, it's expected they will be able to sign one-off marketing deals to promote the video game. Those endorsement deals could make up for the dollars lost from the $500 payout to opt into the game. Some of the major players could also have the leverage to quietly approach one-team partners and strike a one-off deal with help of their agent. For 99.9% of the players, opting into this deal makes sense, 1-3 founder CEO Shannon Terry said of the EA Sports game. For so long, players were not able to receive a dollar for having their image and likeness used. The $500 can go a long way and is a bonus because the real value is being in the game for generations. For some athletes like Drake May and Caleb Williams, holding out could add up because their value to the game is obviously greater than $500. That is up for them to decide what is the most important to them. The last time EA Sports video game hit the shelves in 2013, roughly 1.5 million copies were sold. Since then, the gaming industry has seen a significant growth in interest. Esports leagues leagues have been started. Twitch has become an extremely popular live streaming service thanks to video games. The Madden franchise is estimated to generate $600 million in annual revenue. The vice president for the Players Association said, "I am excited for a new college football game. I know how much people love it and how much hype there has been. It's exciting that we're now at the point where you can create group licensing deal for college football players to create this game. I think that is a huge milestone. But as soon as you get below the surface, it's a bad deal. It's another one of those things that seem to be the pattern in college football. Like, oh, there's one thing that's happening that sounds great, but then you dig into it and you're like, all right, maybe a step in the right direction, but it's still just exploiting the players." Now, let's break this down a little bit before we get into the latest news today over a new lawsuit that EA is possibly facing around this game. Now, here's the thing. The $500 per player thing is kind of just what EA has set as the value for the overall association. And the issue here is that there's obviously going to be a few players that are worth more than $500, like a Caleb Williams, who wouldn't even be in this game because he's going to be leaving the NCAA when this game actually hits the market. So he wouldn't even be in the game.
Damn, I just realized that too.
He's definitely worth more than $500.
And Caleb, that was, bro, imagine playing with him
much money in marketing
in NCAA. That would be crazy.
As soon as he goes to the NFL, that he might not even really care that much. Maybe his agent does because that's his job, but he probably would just rather be in the game because he's already making a ton of money anyway. But outside of the big name guys, for the far majority of the players they're licensing, $500 is probably actually more than they're worth when you really break it down. Most
100%
to the NFL. Most of these players won't even be heard about a year from now. And
I mean, you gotta get your money. I understand, but at the same time, 500 for somebody that's don't really play that much. Come on now, and you in a game that's going to be there for generations. Think about it like that.
20-year-old. The idea of being in a video game is probably cool enough for you.
Crazy.
Obviously, some people are going to want to try to maximize and get more money, but really the people who are trying to get more money are the people that are over the association, which they're supposed to. That's their job. So let's look at some of the numbers here, because there was a Twitter account that kind of spoke about this a few weeks ago and really broke it down. He said, at 11,000 players, that's roughly $5.5 million in payouts. NCAA 14 sold 1 million copies, which at $50 each, that's about $50 million. EA Sports is offering 10% of the gross from their last game, despite massive AAA dev costs, team and bowl fees, and it's still too low? ? The reality, college football is currently being held hostage by the interests of the top athletes who are going to be future millionaires. For the vast majority of FBS, $500 each is above their value, but the guys you want to play as will demand more rather than spread the wealth. A lot of people have brought up, well, why don't they just give 10% as a royalty? The answer is very likely because it's way more complicated in terms of accounting/liability. I'm sure EA doesn't want to continuously resettle accounts with 11,000 people.
That's a good point right there.
Samsung Galaxy 5G.
Like I like how he broke that down for a lot of people, especially me.
Microtransactions. NCAA 14 did have an ultimate team. We know the new NCAA is more than likely going to have an ultimate team as well. And the same account kind of spoke on that as well and said, at some level, you have to recognize that a driving force behind these microtransactions is that the $60 copy isn't actually enough money to fund massive AAA game development these days, which is true, especially the yearly sports games.
That is 100% true.
Copies. Madden sells about 2 million copies a year. NCAA, the last time it was around, sold maybe 1.5 million. Now this game, the first game back, is probably going to sell more because it's just been going for so long. There's going to be a lot of hype, but throughout the entire history of NCAA and Madden has always sold more. It had always made
100%. It was not even close.
People might want to believe or think they remember, Madden has always and will always be more popular than NCAA. The only chance that would be different is this first game back, because it just hasn't been there in so long. So you're going to bring a lot of people who have left football gaming back into the fold. And here's the thing, when you see the amount of money they are making just from the game sales, that's still not even factoring in all of the money they're losing to licensing, marketing, the actual game development, having to also keep developing the game while it's out, because you have to keep updating it and providing support to it, because that's
just that alone is ridiculous amount.
They lose a lot of that when you factor
100%. It's a losing business.
Now, don't get me wrong, they're still making a good bit of money. They're not poor by any means.
They are, but it's not like to that level.
NFL license, they lose more than half of their profit just paying paying for that license. And again, their profit is still a big chunk of money, but it's not nearly as big as you would think it is, because the cost to getting these games out every single year, marketing them, paying for the licensing, it adds up to be a lot. So when you come back to that $500 number for players, here's the issue. Are some players worth more than that? Yes, but the far majority aren't even worth that much, and you
not even close.
Make it take it
stay in your lane.
If you start trying to individually negotiate with individual players, where's the line drawn? Where does it stop? Is it just the cover athlete? Is it just the top 10 players, the top 100 players, the top 200? Where's the cutoff? And then who's to decide who's a top 100 player and who's not? It gets very subjective once you get out of the first few big names. How many people are you willing to negotiate directly with? And the problem is, once you start negotiating with anybody, then more people are going to want that. Everybody's going to come forward and say, well, I want to negotiate as well. And you also have to
that's true.
Most of these players who you're getting their likeness for in the game are going to be in the game for 1, maybe 2 years max, because all of the players that you would want to license are going to be the more known big name players, and most of those are players that are going to be going to the NFL in the following year or 2 at max. So you're not even going to have them in the game that long, and then you're going to have to restart that entire process every year, negotiating with new players every year. And where's the cutoff? Where does it stop? With the NFL, it's a little different. They're in a professional league. They're getting a bigger chunk of money, as they should. It's a lot smaller of a player pool. They're professionals, and also most of these people are going to at least be in the game for 4 or 5 plus years. So you're getting their likeness and rights for quite a long time, versus college where you're not going to have it very long. So if you kind of don't have a take it or leave it flat rate for everybody, it's just to the point where it's almost doesn't even make sense to get anybody's likeness, because it's
that's totally true.
Resources and money. Just
it's already taking a lot of time.
Want to in the game, and we already know that NCAA has proven that it doesn't need the real players in the game to succeed. I hate to break it to you,
that's
but a
true.
week after this game is out, somebody's gonna have the official rosters done that we can download like we always did back in the day. And even if they didn't allow roster editing for whatever reason, it won't matter, because NCAA was never a game that was built off of the players. As long as you got the teams and the logos and all of the pageantry and everything else that makes
you just have fun with it. You ain't even care. You ain't even know half the players anyway. Even if you watch college football games, you would be like, oh, he ain't in the game.
You can't have generic players. NCAA never needed that to succeed, and it definitely wouldn't need it now. It would be ideal to have the top players. It would be a big plus, but you don't need it, especially when you factor in that most people are playing Dynasty Mode or Road to Glory, and the players don't matter that much.
Yeah, that's true.
After you play for a year or two, all those players get pushed out, and you have new players coming in. You're recruiting generic players anyway. You're playing with generic players in your career mode. Nobody's really worried about having the exact roster. So again, it would be a plus, but it's not going to break the game. So they're probably going to leave the deal as it is, as an opt-in deal. Whoever wants to opt into that 500 will be in the game and have their likeness, and those that don't want to opt in, they'll just be replaced with a generic player, whom will be edited after the game is out for a week, and we'll have basically the real rosters anyway. Even if we don't have face scans, again, we don't really care about that. That's not what's going to make or break this game. Now today we got some more breaking news around this, and it says the Brander Group is suing EA Sports over college football video games.
Damn.
2 weeks after College Football Players Association called for a boycott of the video game, the Brander Group has filed a lawsuit against EA Sports in the Northern District of California for tortious interference. Front Office Sports was the first to report this news, but 1-3 has obtained a copy of the lawsuit. The Brander Management, Marketing, and Licensing Agency allows for the collective use of student athletes' name, image, and likeness in licensing and marketing programs, co-branded with the institution's logos and marks. TBG facilitates group licensing opportunities on behalf of the student athletes and represents more than 54 Division I institutions. Athletes have the option to enter into the group licensing deal according to TBG. Despite being in the running to win the contract with EA Sports, the video game brand contracted One Team Partners to facilitate the college athletes' likenesses. A source told 1-3 the cash pool for the athletes was in the $5 million neighborhood, which would pay out to $500 per player. Now the agency is arguing EA is causing irreparable harm to TBG and the athletes it represents. The proposed compensation is far below market value. Unfortunately, EA Sports is trying to avoid paying collegiate football players a fair price for their participation in the game, continuing the pre-O'Bannon pattern of large corporations taking advantage of young student athletes and capitalizing on their name, image, and likeness, the lawsuit states. So right now, it's just a big mess, but at the end of the day, I don't really see much changing with this. I think they're going to leave their deal on the table, and it's going to be a take it or leave it. And I would imagine more players than you think are going to take it, because most of them
100%, 500.
Most of these players have
for somebody that don't get on the field. Come on now, think about it.
Make a lot of money.
You gonna take that deal, even if you get on the field like you gonna take that deal. That's dumb not to.
Be in it. Obviously, some people are gonna hold out. Some people's agents are gonna tell them not to go through with it, which is fine. The agent is still looking out for their best interest, and at the end of the day, being in a video game isn't that important at the end of the day. But I don't see this as some big issue for the game coming out like others seem to think it could be a problem that prevents the game from coming out.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big issue.
Even if they could not secure the rights to players, and they said that. They said that they ideally would like to get the rights to the top players for every team, but if they couldn't, they would just go with generic players as they did back in the day. They've already put way too much
They've done that before, so why
developing this game, and it's getting close to being done. We're less than a year away. They're not just gonna scrap it at this point. EA is not about to take that kind of a loss because they don't need the players to sell the game. They never have, and they never will. It's just kind of the icing on top. But if you've looked through even my own comment section, every time I bring this up in NCAA videos, so many people are saying, I don't care about the rosters, I just need the modes and the gameplay to be good. We can do the rosters ourselves, or I'm playing Dynasty mode, the roster ain't gonna matter after a season anyway, because it's gonna be all new players. And that's really
true. That's 100% facts.
Players in the game, there's gonna be some people that opt out, but this game, unless something else massive happens, this game is going to come out, and hopefully, you know, everybody comes to an agreement. Hopefully all these things get settled, but one way or another, we're still gonna be playing college football, and I just don't really see any way around it at this point.
Now, that was some pretty bad news, but at the end of the day, for majority of the people, majority of the players, they are not worth $500. I'm sorry, they're not. It's the truth, and they know that too. So if you don't go through with this or you boycott this, hey, if you have different reasons for a boycott, hey, that's up to you. But if you just doing it because others are doing it, you're losing out on potential money that you can get and you'll be in a video game. Now, for some people, it's not important, but for others, being in a video game, especially a game that you might have played when you was little in high school, in middle school or whatever, like that's, just let that sink in, and you getting paid for it. Come on now. You gotta think for yourself. Don't think because that person's doing it that you need to do it too. That's all I gotta say about that one. But this was a good video, good insight to how the money works and stuff like that. And like he mentioned, EA lose a lot of money just in Madden paying the players. They lose so much. And I don't think people really understand that. They just say, well, EA is a big company, so they should be able to do this, do that. No, it don't work like that. Especially when money is involved. You lose money before you gain it. So that's all I gotta say about that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this reaction. Love every single one of you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.